With us now for some answers is the international. We are now going to go to Ambassador Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, with more information on what is happening in Israel. Ambassador, you have said that a large part of the humanitarian aid that goes into Gaza is actually going to Hamas. That is at odds with what the National Security Advisor said today. He said there's no evidence that it's going to the terrorists.
When it comes to Hamas, you can basically take any human decency, any sense of civilization, and throw it out the window. And aid was always going into Gaza. In fact, at the one major crossing we had, the ironically named Vineyard of Peace, we had a capacity of about 1,200 very large flatbed trucks going in with everything you can imagine: food, medicine, toys, building equipment. Hamas did two things. One, it would keep the level of trucks going in low as 400 trucks a day, in order to maintain a low level of humanitarian disaster. That kept the people angry at Israel and dependent on Hamas. Brilliant, right? The Hamas always took a chunk. It was a shakedown. It took a share of everything that goes into Gaza, and still does. Now, I appreciate the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, is going to say that they're going to try their utmost to make sure that the aid that goes into Gaza goes to civilians in Gaza. But what can I say? I know too much. And you first of all, you don't even know how many Hamas terrorists are among the civilians. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have moved from the north to the south. You'd have to be very naive to not think that there's not a lot of Hamas terrorists among them.
So when we hear like that it's the Palestinian Red Crescent Society or different NGOs or aid groups in Gaza who are helping distribute this aid and all the care that is being taken to get this aid, you're saying it's still, as of now, is probably going straight to Hamas, or a large part of it to Hamas?
Not all of it. No, they're going to take a chunk. They're going to take a piece of it, and it's going to find their way to them. And we know this, and the people of Israel know this. You know, Elizabeth, every day I visit families of the hostages. And one of the items that is most hurtful to these people, and you're talking about mountains of hurt here, was that our government has given in to American pressure to allow the aid going in. And what do they say? These are not cruel people. Some of them are left wing. Some of them are, very sympathetic to the Palestinian plight. They say this is the only leverage we have over the hostages to let them at least let the Red Cross go in and visit the hostages. Many of these families don't even know if their loved ones are in fact hostages. They have no evidence of it. They don't know their physical, certainly not the physical location, certainly, but they don't know whether they need medical attention. They don't know whether they've been hurt. Nothing. In Israel, by giving in to the American demand for aid for humanitarian corridors, is giving up the leverage. And this is some of the most difficult conversations I have, because I have to explain that it's actually in Israel's long-term interest to give the aid, because international pressure is mounting on us to make a ceasefire.
It is mounting. And you think that would be a bad idea. Can you explain why a ceasefire or even just a pause in bombing is a bad idea, given the extent of the suffering and given, as you just pointed out, the global impact this is having, where
Indeed.
Sympathy for Israel seems to be evaporating in the face of these images day in and day out?
There's one word, Elizabeth, and that's death. A ceasefire is the death of the state of Israel. A ceasefire means Hamas literally gets away with mass murder. A ceasefire means that the 300,000 Israelis that have been evacuated from their homes can never go home. And as a matter of fact, I'm not sure this country would be inhabitable after that. We'd be sitting here in South Tel Aviv and think, okay, when's the next terrorist attack? Because every time Israel goes to try to defend itself, the international community is going to slap it with a ceasefire. And our enemy's going to know that too.
Are you concerned that today's attack on this large refugee camp in Gaza will add fuel to the fire right now of criticism of Israel for its hostilities in Gaza, for the military action in Gaza, given the fact that apparently Hamas had a bunker right in the middle of this refugee camp where thousands of people were seeking shelter?
So I can give you, the answer we give in every war, which is, we feel sorry. These people, certainly we have empathy. No one likes to see civilians suffer, certainly. But we've asked this population, we've urged them again and again to leave the battle area. Many hundreds of thousands have. Many tens of thousands are unable to leave the battle areas because Hamas stops them at gunpoint, because Hamas wants to use them as human shields. Hamas wants these images to get out to the world, so the world will then turn around and impose a ceasefire. Is there a way of preventing this? No, because Hamas has dug literally hundreds of miles of tunnels and bunkers under the cities of Gaza, under the schools, under the hospitals, in this case, under residential buildings. Their headquarters are there, their terrorists are there, and there's just no way to get to them. You ask the civilians to leave. If they don't, if Hamas is firing from these buildings at our soldiers, using the civilians as human shields, what choice do we have?
Ambassador Michael Oren, it is as you have called it, a real moral dilemma for the government of Israel, how to strike back at a terrorist group that has embedded itself in a civilian population that cannot leave this tiny enclave. Very difficult. Appreciate your insight tonight. All right, Newsnation.